All right. I would like all of you to go and get mittens if you have some handy and available. I've got my mittens on. And the reason I have mittens is because I want to read to you my story, A Mountain of Mittens. And there's a chorus, a part that repeats over and over again. And so if you have your mittens, then you're able to help me with that part. If you don't have mittens, it's okay to use imaginary mittens and think what they would look like. I think my mittens are pretty cool. A librarian friend made them for me. This book has a chorus, a part that repeats over and over again. So I want to teach you that chorus while you're wearing your mittens or your imaginary mittens so that you can join in as the story goes along. It goes like this. Mittens, mittens, my, oh my, a mountain of mittens piled up high. Let's practice it. Mittens, mittens, my, oh my, a mountain of mittens piled up high. Let's try it one more time. Just think one hand, the other hand, one hand, the other hand. And say the words with me too. Mittens, mittens, my, oh my, a mountain of mittens piled up high. If you forget those actions, later when you're doing the story by yourself, don't worry about it. The hardcover book on the end papers shows the pictures of the characters in the book doing those actions. So you could just look there and that would remind you how to do it. But you can always add actions to a book, even if you do it exactly the same way that an author does. All right, A Mountain of Mittens by Lynn Plourde, illustrated by Mitch Vane, published by Charlesbridge Books. It was that time of year again. Don't forget your mittens at school, yelled Molly's parents. Nope, I won't, answered Molly. Molly still had her mittens during morning recess, during lunch recess, and during afternoon recess. But just as she put on her mittens to leave school at the end of the day, she heard a teensy-weensy sneeze. Achoo! There, shivering and quivering in the terrarium, was the class turtle, Myrtle. Achoo! Achoo! Oh, bless you, Myrtle Turtle. You must be catching a cold, said Molly. Here, cuddle in my mittens. They'll keep you cozy. After school, Molly's teacher, Mr. Jolly, discovered Molly's mittens, along with a few other mittens. He put them in the lost and found pile and mumbled, "They forgot their mittens." This is the chorus. Help me. I'm not going to put my mittens back on because I can't turn the pages very easily, but I hope you have yours on. Mittens, mittens, my, oh my, a mountain of mittens piled up high. And there's their lost and found pile. The next day, Molly's parents velcroed Molly's mittens to her jacket. So did the other kids' parents. Don't forget your mittens at school, yelled Molly's parents. Nope, I won't. No way, answered Molly. Molly still had her mittens during morning recess, during lunch recess, and during afternoon recess. But at the end of the day, Molly and her whole grade practiced their winter musical on stage with Miss Holly, the music teacher. Miss Holly played the piano with her fingers and jingled bells with her toes as Molly and all the other students fa-la-la'd in their winter clothes. They even practiced opening and closing the stage curtains and taking a bow. And when they do, the Velcro on their mittens makes them stick to the stage curtains and to the snowman. After school, Miss Holly discovered Molly's mittens along with a few other mittens. She put them in the lost and found pile and mumbled and grumbled, "They forgot their mittens." Everyone, mittens, mittens, my, oh my, a mountain of mittens piled up high. And their lost and found pile is getting taller and taller. The next day, Molly's parents crocheted her mittens together with a chain of yarn. So did the other kids' parents. Don't forget your mittens at school, yelled Molly's parents. Nope, I won't. No way. No how, answered Molly. Molly still had her mittens during morning recess, during lunch recess, and during afternoon recess. But just as Molly put on her mittens at the end of the day for the ride home, Mr. Golly's bus went slippery, slide, slush, and slid off the snowy road. Oh, golly, Mr. Golly, said Molly. Don't worry, we'll help. Molly and the other students used the yarn chain on their mittens to lasso, yank, tug, and pull the bus back onto the road. After all the students were safely bussed home, Mr. Golly discovered Molly's mittens along with a few other mittens. He drove back to school, put them in the lost and found pile, and mumbled and grumbled and rumbled. They forgot their mittens. Help me. Mittens, mittens, my, oh my, a mountain of mittens piled up high. Oh, and their pile is getting taller and taller. The next day, Molly's parents duct taped Molly's mittens to her jacket. So did the other kids' parents. Don't forget your mittens at school, yelled Molly's parents. Nope, I won't. No way. No how. Not me, answered Molly. Molly still had her mittens during morning recess, during lunch recess, and during afternoon recess. But at the end of the day, just as Molly put on her mittens, the principal, Mrs. Foley, called an emergency assembly. Mrs. Foley announced into the microphone, "No one, I repeat, no one will be allowed to leave school today until you all reclaim your mittens from the lost and found pile." Yikes, said Molly, the bus is already waiting, so she dove into the lost and found pile, along with a few other students. Grip, stick, stuck. Molly and the other students were duct taped to the mitten pile. "Holy mittens!" yelled Mrs. Foley. "Oh, we can't have our students stuck at school overnight." So she hollered, "Help!" Then Mr. Jolly, Miss Holly, Mr. Golly, Mrs. Foley tussled and tugged to try to free Molly and the other students. These are in big letters. I hope you can read them with me with duct tape voices, sort of sticky voices. Grip, stick, stuck. They got stuck too. Molly, Mr. Jolly, Miss Holly, Mr. Golly, Mrs. Foley, and more. My, oh my, a mountain of people piled up high. Meanwhile, Molly's parents paced and fretted. Oh, where is Molly? We're worried she's late. Then they called the school. When no one answered, they called 911. Molly's parents raced to school along with a few other parents and police officers and firefighters and ambulance workers. With special snip-snapping cutting equipment and super-duper teamwork, everyone was freed from the duct tape in no time flat. Hooray! Yelled Molly along with a few other students. Hooray! Yelled Molly's parents along with a few other parents. Everyone high-fived and hurried on home for supper. Everyone, that is, except Mr. Jolly, Miss Holly, Mr. Golly, and Mrs. Foley. They mumbled and grumbled and rumbled and roared, "You forgot your mittens!" Help me, I'm going to put my mittens on for this final time. I'm hurrying. Let's do it. Mittens, mittens, my, oh my, a mountain of mittens piled up high. Thank you for helping me with my story. Bye-bye.